Join us for a spicy and unfiltered episode. We talk about porn, sex ed, how to communicate with your partner about your desires and needs, and how to find fun and informative events in your city surrounding sex. In this episode, we have Maureen McCarthy, licensed social worker and therapist at Heal Your Roots Wellness, and our co-host Daniela Galdi. Let's get into it. Maureen, thank you so much for coming back on to join us for another episode today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So we could really jump into anything.
Sex.
I was just going to say, let's get right
Sex,
into
baby.
that.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's so broad though, right? When I was thinking about different things, I'm like, sex. I even talked to other people about it. And they're like, what do you like to talk about, like, with your friends? And I was like, sex, dating, my feelings. I don't know. I'm like, random things.
Yeah, my feelings are top of the list, always. I'm like, if you don't want to sit here and talk to me about feelings, I don't know if we can ever be friends.
Yeah, I am that friend, I think, that I am like, I think my close friends know the depths of my mind are very deep. And I think that kind of reflects in the career I chose. And I'm like, well, I'm a Pisces. Sure. So if you're not ready to navigate those seas, then I don't know if this is the destination for you.
Oh, I love that. And you know hilarious. What? So yes, we're going to talk about sex, and I will share that, like, coming out of like a long-term relationship and now going into dating and like jokingly saying like, oh, I'm going to be abstinent for a very long time, thinking that like probably that wouldn't happen, but it is. So, you know, the importance of sex in your life and for intimacy reasons, I'm totally seeing the value now. I think I took that for granted a bit, you know?
And just overall, like, feeling happy. I notice, like, if there's like a stretch of time where I haven't and then I do, I'm like, oh, wow, like the clouds look really nice today. You realize just how much pep in your step it gives you. So I like, I know before we hopped on, we were talking about kind of like what we learned or didn't learn in sex ed or even like from our parents. And I gotta say, it was like zilch, like a horrible sex education. Really, it was just like STDs. It was STDs and how to put a condom on a penis. And I remember like in my gym class, so it was like the gym teacher was our sex ed teacher. I don't know if that's like the same at everyone else's school.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
I don't know, was that the same for both of you?
And a little bit in theology class, which I don't think should have happened, but
okay. I had health class because I went to Catholic school, so not sex ed, and that was abstinence based or STIs, yes, and you know, fear based. I remember like scary posters that were like, there was like out of 100 people, it was like all these stick figures, and it was like every fourth person has an STI. So people would be like 1, 2, 3, 4, you have the STI, and
oh my god,
those are some of my memories of and it was the gym teacher that was, you know, an older guy that probably, you know, just got stuck with it.
That's so random. I wonder why they would pick the gym teacher to have this very important part of like education of a child and adolescent's life in front of everybody to do that. But like my teacher, they just showed us like childbirth and just like the horrors, and they like really made it seem scary, or the STIs, or boys masturbating. That was it, really. Like, oh yeah, boys are gonna masturbate. That's totally normal. No big deal. Nothing about girls masturbating or nothing else, or about pleasure even.
No, you're so right. And now that I think about it, it was never about a girl masturbating or any female situation of pleasure. It was like, went from like, don't do it, straight to if you do it and you get pregnant, it's awful. And then men get all the in-between, basically.
Yes, there's no pleasure component that was missed. I really would have enjoyed just learning that like bodies don't have to like look one way, and like body hair doesn't have to look one way. Yeah, there's a lot of that, and a lot of shaming, like, you know, when personal details came out about, and these are at the time, you know, you're teenagers too, people just sharing about, you know, when people would hook up and talking about intimate details, but also shaming for like what people did, how they did it, how they looked when they did it, or what they looked like. And it's like, that created a lot of, I think, insecurities, like for me, for sure.
Yeah, that's a good point about the body hair, because I am Eastern European and I was very hairy as an adolescent, and that was not a fun time for me. Like, I got teased for that a lot, and I wish that that was something that they talked about. And then even, like, I remember thinking about when I was like, I don't even know, 6th or 7th grade, it was like they hooked up, or like she touched someone's penis, and it was like right, like calling her a slut, but it was never about like the boy doing something wrong or shaming him for doing anything sexual. It was always pointed towards the girls.
Can we actually touch on that word slut? Because now as an adult going into her late 30s, I had to pause when I said that, which is fine. I love aging, actually, but like going into her late 30s. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, yeah, you know, and then that person was a slut. And I was like, man, when I was younger, I wish that we had the attitude that we do now, because were they really a slut? Were they just feeling really confident? Couldn't have been their choice that like they wanted to explore this area for themselves, right? And so now as an adult, I'm thinking like, oh shoot, am I gonna be a slut? And I was like, no, no, that's so wild. Like, it's a wild thought. Get that out of your head.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up, because I personally love that word and have identified myself that way. I've been called that and various other similar words since a teenager, I think. And then at some point, when I learned about like reclaiming certain words and things like that, I was like, I claim that, and I love that, whether it's actively true in that moment or like not. But I think that's often thrown around along with other words, but again, very stereotypical to do that when it's like, it's not done for, like, it's like a pat on the back for a typical like cis hetero dude that's like, awesome, good for you, but not good for her. But I was like, no, I'm going to claim that back, because I feel really empowered when I do, and like a pretty powerful woman. And if that intimidates, you know, a man, I kind of like that as well. But that's me.
I love that.
Yeah, I like that too.
Yeah.
I used to wonder, right? Like, because when we were teenagers, I used to hear that all the time. She's a slut. She's a slut. She's a whore. Like, just constantly. And then I was like thinking, I was even talking with one of my friends about this, looking back of when we might have been promiscuous as teenagers, right? Part of that was like, we're just exploring, right? And just trying to figure out what we like, and we like somebody else and we want to express it physically. But also that there was a lot of like underlying trauma outside of that, that's how it was expressed too. Or even like, unfortunately, even some sexual assault, that it's like, this almost seems like an easier path is to be promiscuous, or just to do that right off the bat as like a protective mechanism. And then after that, being called a slut and being shamed over and over, and then like repeating that cycle, and then going into college and drinking. And, you know, it's like, it's kind of fucked up how that path goes and how other people might perceive it, until like maybe you get older, or you heal, or you go to therapy and recognize why you might have been doing it. And then I love how you say like reclaiming it, because now it's like, well, now I have sex because I want to, because it feels good, and I don't give a shit if someone doesn't like it, or if they have to ask me like a body count. That's the worst. That was I used to hate when people would ask stuff like that.
Why do people ask that? I don't know if I've been asked that.
I love if you have not been asked that, because
yeah.
But to be honest, it's been a very long time since I've been asked that. And I know it was very popular in high school into, I guess, traditional like college age or that experience. And then at some point, maybe that fell off, or I stopped hanging out with people that asked me that, unless you're like a good friend and we're talking about that. And, but yeah, when people ask that, I always felt like it was coming from the intention of, well, I need to know how many people you've been with because I need to determine if you are dirty or not.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was that, you know, you as like a woman were with more people than like a man was, that wasn't acceptable, or like that wasn't okay. I feel like that was my experience in mostly like cis hetero dynamics as teenager into like early 20s, until somewhere maybe someone got the memo to stop asking people that.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that was teenagers and in college, and I agree. I think it's so they can determine if you're a slut or if you're a good girl or if they want to date you. Like putting a moral value on you based on the number of people you have slept with is so silly.
Yeah, hopefully it's like, you know, what we should have been asking was, have you been tested recently? Yeah. Like if we're gonna ask something, like asking needs, wants, you know, if you've been tested, conversations around just being having safer sex. I think that would have been great.
Oh, I definitely agree, because it's not easy to ask those, and I so much easier going into everything. And then also the idea of like, they talked about protection situations, right? But like the fear that at least I experienced around like actually going and getting those things, I still carry with me. I think I might have asked Kira to actually go buy me some things. Like, I still have that fear around me. And you're so right. You make such a good point, Maureen, about like having those conversations could have been so much more normalized. It could have helped people moving forward into their adulthood.
I think about being in school and I was afraid to answer a question about like what the capital of Pennsylvania was or something, let alone, you know, like having some of those conversations then, despite being someone that was pretty open about this stuff very young. But you know what I think some of the great like sex educators are doing out there, and I love when they make these posts, they have index cards and the kids will like write questions about anything, and the questions are so great. It's like, is it normal for my genitals to have hair on them, or am I supposed to like giving a blowjob? Am I supposed to do that? And like these are such great questions that if they came across my mind, I don't know if I would have verbalized that in front of like a class, let alone I wouldn't have had that option in school because we didn't talk about that and didn't really talk about that at home either. So, yeah, I think we need all of the arenas to kind of talk about stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough because I think talking about it in a group setting in some ways is good because it normalizes it and everyone can hear the same information. But I think it's only helpful if it feels safe, right? Like if you're scared to ask or if you're nervous to say something, or there's like people in class who are bullying or the teacher's coming off in a shameful way, or like there's clearly a stance they're taking on something, then it's probably not helpful. Right. So, but I love that, like writing the questions down, like there has to be this level of like safety to even ask a question. And then the teacher has to feel comfortable and equipped to answer it. I don't know that my gym teacher in middle school was equipped to answer the questions that we would have been asking them at all. And like having it talked about at home. So this is the tough part, right? Like I think they probably do it in school because it's like general information everybody should have. and that we can't necessarily rely on like parents or caregivers to like explain that or talk about it, because they may not have ever received it, or they're uncomfortable with it, or they just don't want to, or they only have a particular stance on it. So I think it is kind of hard to figure out a very inclusive and helpful and beneficial, safe way that everyone is getting information, and not just leaving it to only at home, because everyone's going to get a mixed bag at that point.
Yeah. And then, they're going to be online looking up some porn, and be like, fine, well, I don't know what this is. Let me Google it. Let me see what I can find.
Yeah.
Or just, watching porn just because, and things like that. I know I like make anything a window, like for my kid. If he brings something up, I'm like, the window's opening to talk about this. And not that I try to turn everything that way, but I do try to look for those windows where it's like, we could have a conversation out of this. So it was like, we had those conversations about porn, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably going to come up at some point. I'm like, so you're going to pull it up. Someone else is going to be like, look at this. And, I always look for those moments to just kind of take it and have a conversation. And because my kid's grown up with me being like that, plus I think what I do for a living, that's going to be, I hope, normal for him, so he can feel comfortable in those conversations. And also be an advocate for people too, let alone himself.
I mean, it sounds like you are definitely creating that safe, open space as a parent, which is awesome. I wish I had something even remotely that looked like that.
Yeah. We even talked about, like with him, I've been like, some adults like don't talk about this stuff because they feel really like embarrassed. They feel really uncomfortable. They don't know what to say. So they either can say the wrong thing or something that doesn't feel good, and then or just like avoid it entirely, or like, okay, I'm just not gonna talk about this. I was like, and that's something he was like, yeah. So I don't know if that's something he experienced personally at some point. I mean, probably, but I mean, he's lived in a household that's had like, I don't know, like condoms in jars and like lube in the drawer sitting out. Like, it's just like, these are things that that don't need to be hidden away. Right. So.
Yeah. And I feel like our generation's probably just going to do a better job, generally speaking, just because we are like more normalized to it. Like, I'm thinking about, I'll never, ever forget this lesson that my mom gave me when I was little, like the sex talk. I think I was like 8 or 9 years old. I came out of the shower and she like told me about periods. And then she was like, okay, this is coming from like a very conservative Eastern European immigrant. She's like, you are not allowed to have sex before marriage. And I was like, but why? She's like, because it's wrong. I'm like, but you're a kid. Like, why? And so she's like, let me give you an example. I was like, okay. She's like, do you know when we go get a carton of milk at the store? And this is back when they used to have a seal under the cap. So she's like, when we go get a carton of milk at the store and we take off the cap, and if there's no seal, would you drink that milk? I was like, I don't know, maybe not. And she's like, why wouldn't you drink it? I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's dirty. She's like, yeah, that's a woman's virginity before marriage. I was like, oh my God. So my worth in virginity was compared to a used milk carton and it being dirty. And that shit stayed with me for a long time, until I was like a teenager. And then my mom and dad were like, once they saw me dating, they're like, yeah, if you have sex before marriage, you're going to put us straight to the grave. We will die. I'm like, on the moment, in the instant, they're like, yes. It's like, okay, cool. So I can't ever tell you anything. Oh yeah. Thick layers of guilt.
Yeah, Kira, I think you and I both grew up in, and mind you, I think most of mine came from like the school, because I did have 13 years of Catholic schooling, there was so much rooted in virginity that it fed into like that shame and that guilt and those stereotypes like throughout high school that, it was like, oh, well, she's not a virgin or she's been with other people and things like that. And it held such a weight, I think, in a lot of different ways, and just really spilled into how all these other things were viewed, like me as a sexual being. I'm sure it wasn't the only one.
No, of course not. Everyone's experiencing it and feeling it. It's just unfortunate that it wasn't as accepted or normalized, and it was just so feared.
How do we talk about porn? This is something we mentioned earlier, but like, how does that even happen? Like, how do you even look for it as a person, let alone a child?
Like an adult?
And an adult, a child, like not, I shouldn't say a child, but a person who is exploring these things.
So I think it's going to be different between an adult and a kid who's like exploring and curious and finding things out for the first time, right? Like as a kid, if you're going to Google something and just find whatever comes up, and that's like your first impression of what's happening, like you're probably going to take that at face value. Like this is what people do when they have sex. These are the expectations, especially like heterosexual porn is going to like, I can't imagine when I was younger looking, I was like, okay, so the girl is always moaning really loud from the second she's touched, and she comes in like 5 minutes, and this, and that, and the guy does this. And I was like, okay, so I guess that's what's supposed to happen. And like you go into it and then you have experiences like, oh, this is not, this is not lining up the way I thought it was going to. So, I mean, I think it's tough. I mean, Maureen, you might have a better handle on how to talk to a child about porn because I don't have kids, but I would imagine like giving them that heads up, like, hey, what you see is not necessarily what's real, and to not take that as what's going to happen necessarily, or that you should be doing or feeling or experiencing this is like, I think a huge part of it. And then like not shaming, like they're going to be curious, right? Like it's normal and common for kids to seek these things out. So I don't know, Maureen, what do you think? Is there more tips on how to like discuss it?
Yeah, I think all that is really important. And I was trying to recall, at least just for that personal conversation I had with my son, whatever that was, I was like, oh, the window's open, but I can't recall it now. So when we talked about it, I, was like, you're going to come across this. Probably soon. You may have already come across it. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. And it wasn't like, maybe some parents present day and past would be like, argue, like start yelling or, oh my gosh, like, no, you can't look at this. And so we talked about that shame piece. Some people watch porn and like porn, and that's cool. That's fine. And some people don't watch it. Some people don't like it, and that's fine too. Some people in the porn do that's their job, and they do sex work. Like we even had that conversation, and I think I mentioned that, people that do sex work catch a lot of heat for that. And I was like, it's their job and they shouldn't be shamed either. So we had that conversation. But also, kind of porn is something that adults, or those are like adults doing that. So we had conversations about it's never okay. Photos, videos of kids, teenagers, like minors, to be going around. That sidebar, that was a huge thing when I was in high school. Just people sending out nude pictures, and it was always of the local girls that got out. And that got out to every single school, public, private, whatever. So I kind of like touched on that because that was such a big thing too. Since when I was in high school, we had an assembly about it and everything, about sexting and things like that. So I think I tried to like normalize, validate, and just be open to like what he had to say, but I think it was a lot of me talking, and I was like, let me just touch on these few things. But I'm always like, if you have any questions or comments, or like, I don't know, something happens, like, feel free to ask me. I was like, that's okay. And I was like, and sometimes you might not want to ask me because I'm mom, and you might want to talk to someone else, but that's okay. I was like, as long as you feel like you have someone to talk to. So yeah, I think at least today, talking about generations changing too with porn, like there's a lot more like feminine directed porn, and there's one porn star, I can't recall her name, but she's also like a sex therapist, or she's a sex educator. Don't quote me, but I love that she has like both of those like informed backgrounds to kind of just bring it all together. And I think she even came out with like videos, or, well, it's not DVDs anymore, but things you can buy that are more so, it's porn, but it's educational. It's like sex ed too. And I think that's a really cool concept as well. Like, you're not getting like this, like, this is directed, like, this is acting. Majority of it is like, it's more real. It's like reality based, or for people that are curious about like, well, how do I do this? Or like, what do I do? Like, what's my body do? My hands do. So there's a lot more out there that's, it's better information than just all the, homemade videos and things like that.
With a scrambled porn on channel 99.
If you had the hot box, you had everything.
Oh yeah. Catch a boob on the left side. But that made me think about, there's this website called o.school that actually does educational videos and prompts and worksheets, which is phenomenal. And I get like an email newsletter, and I think the one was how to talk dirty, like during sex. And it gave like all these different prompts and body parts and what you could say and how to respond. I was like, wow, that's so awesome. Like, that's, to actually like teach you to go through it, not just like watch a porn and like hear what they say and think that's what you're supposed to say.
I love that website, 1. And 2, I refer to it a lot. 3, did you see they have an orgasm order form? It's like you're ordering takeout. You can tell them if you do not want mayonnaise on your sandwich, or you want a side of this, a little extra of that. It gets down to the point of like how you want to be touched, down to like level of pressure, or do you like tapping and different motions and things like that. So it's great. I forget in that one if there's also a piece that kind of ties in with the dirty talk, because some people definitely like don't want to be called certain things, or don't want their genitals to be called certain things. And if you do, that's like the light switch is off, and it's just like, next thing you know, you're checked out and you're like, I'm gonna need to take a break. So that website's so informative. And anything that's like an inventory or an order form, I think, is always helpful tools to like empower and get to know yourself, but also communicate that to a partner. Like, I know I like texted that order form to someone before and was like, I know you know a lot of this already, but like, here you go. And they're like, that's great. And I'm like, you should fill this out too. That sex geek in you.
That is very.
I love that. But I did see, it was like how to tell or show your partner what you want or don't want. Because
Mm.
sometimes we don't even know, right? Like all of this is through exploration. Like we might think we might like this particular thing or think we won't. And then when we're actually confronted with it or we're trying it, we're like, oh, this is actually kind of my cup of tea. I wouldn't have guessed this. And like having those prompts to even like click through, like, no, I don't want to try that. I do want to try that. I'm open to trying this. This is a hard no. Let's definitely do this. And like showing that to your partner or whoever you're having sex with, I think is like pretty empowering how you're saying, and pretty cool to even like think about it and like have these different ideas to try out. And if you don't feel comfortable like saying all these things, that's a great way to like tell someone without saying it too. And it's great for couples, like especially for couples therapy who are like trying to, whether it's like reconnect or try something different or explore or even like getting over shame. It's a great way to have like this external prompt to go through things and just talk about it without even trying any of it. It's like, well, what comes up in your mind when you see like us watching porn together and like having a whole dialogue of what that means and like getting to know each other better and like our experiences with it outside of that. So I love that site.
Yeah, like, will you be okay when you come home and I have a swing installed? How will you
wax across the room?
Dinner's ready, dessert's there, and be okay with this. You know,
be okay.
We need to make sure there's mutual agreement and consent there, right? But
that's so funny.
That's so great. I did actually get some lube that they were like, you can put this on ice cream if you want.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I would give them a plug. I can't think of who it is. I don't know if it might be Joe. I'm not sure, but they had like creme brulee and just all these like decadent dessert flavors. And it was like, it's sugar free too. It was like, cool. Multi-use.
I love that.
I remember when I was, what year was this? I think it was like when I was 25 or 26 and like got out of a relationship and I was like, I want to do more stuff alone. Right? Like some of my friends like didn't want to do certain things, but I wanted to. And I was like trying to overcome this like social anxiety and phobia. So I was like, let me find stuff that's like really going to make me uncomfortable that I'm just going to do to get over it. So this is how I torture myself. But so I found this event in Philly. I don't know if they're still doing it because of what happened with COVID and everything, but it was called the Erotic Literary Saloon in Philly. And it was like every third Thursday of the month. It was held by a sexologist and a sex therapist. And she would have people come and she'd have like those anonymous questions at the beginning. People would write them down and answer them in the beginning of the event. And then other people would come and they would just read their stories, like their erotic poems or stories or fantasies. And then people would ask questions. And I thought it was so cool. And I went alone, like met all these interesting people. And it felt like a community. Like if you would have walked in the room, I would have never thought that these 50 people would be friends or talk to each other. But then as the night went on, like everyone was very welcoming and open about it. And so I like dragged some of my friends to go after that. And they're like, we don't ever want to do this again. But I thought it was awesome. So I don't know if there's other events that either of you have gone to or there's like things like that that might be, I don't know, that were like kind of uncomfortable or interesting in that way.
Yes. I've been to a fetish con. And I also more recently was at, I don't know what it would have been called, but it was an event that was at a hotel. So like pretty much the one floor of the hotel, you would go in a different room and there'd be like a different vendor there. So it was very like intimate too, because you'd be with a small group and I was with a good friend and also colleague that is same kind of interests and work with like sexuality and public health and things like that. So I feel very comfortable being with her in those spaces. So the one room, you would get like sex toy demonstrations and someone was able like to try one, like if they felt comfortable, like in front of you and everybody else felt comfortable in the room. So I thought that was a pretty interesting like experience. There's something about being in those environments where people are so open and vulnerable about something that holds so much like history of shame and guilt and like make yourself small kind of things that is really empowering. Like anytime I go to any type of conference, whether it's as intimate and open as like that, or if it is more of a professionally like driven track, I always leave. We'd always walk out, me and this friend and colleague, and be like, "We're so liberated, we're stimulated," like screaming it like those two words. We're like, "How do we feel right now?" And I definitely miss like those spaces because unfortunately, I feel like I don't go as much to as many things, given like COVID and things like that. Or maybe I'm not aware of as many, but I miss them dearly because they're just such a great space to experience, and not even just your own, but just seeing other people like experience other things too. It's just so cool.
That sounds.
I love events like that.
Yeah, that definitely sounds awesome. I would love to experience that. And the only thing I can really think about is like growing up as and going to college for it and then performing is like the performing arts. We have to do a lot of work around like intimacy, and that's really it. But it exposes you to the feelings around it. I felt like that's what I gained. But in terms of things like sex toys, that wasn't something that was ever, that was, unless it was part of the concept, right? But I love that they have events around this. I don't know. I'm so curious now, like what, if you feel comfortable sharing, Maureen, were there things that you remember from it that maybe you didn't know or that just like intrigued you?
I think what was great about like when I'm shopping, I like a hands-on experience. So if I'm being able to like, you're not online shopping and you're like, yeah, this toy looks great. They say it has 10 different speeds. That sounds awesome. Many options, but you don't know like what, you're not holding it or feeling what, what the sensations are. So just being able to get hands-on and play with like the different toys essentially. You could kind of like just mess around with them and I don't know, ask questions and things like that. I feel like in that experience there was a lot I learned about lube, but in the way that was different, more so like ingredient wise. I just remember the brands, especially ones that we're trying to promote, if it's like edible lube and things like that, just like healthy ingredients, and such a key piece about like knowing what we're putting in our body, not just like toys and who we're with, but like just like lubes and things like that. I thought that was very interesting to me because there was like a very big science to it that I was not aware of. So they gave some interesting feedback there regarding ingredients and things like that with lube. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else. But I think it's a different experience when it's something hands-on versus, okay, I'm going to Google some things and see what I can find because I want to try something new. It's like, I'm here holding all these toys, like pressing all the buttons, putting them against like my neck, like my hand, like, they're giving us taste tests of all the lubes and like flavors and arousal gels that you just need a teeny drop of, and you could like feel intense sensations. So you're getting this whole like engaging all your senses, which is such an important element to sex, let alone life and being present and experiencing it.
Absolutely. I love that because it is completely different of Googling something versus being in person. So I know on South Street, at least they used to, there's like in Philadelphia, there's a lot of sex shops on South Street, and a lot of them hold classes. like different kinds of classes. And I used to drag my friends to all this stuff. There was one class, it was like deep throating, had a deep throat. And I went there, and like before they had the class, they would like, you know, give you a tour around the sex shop and like show you all these different toys and different things, but not even just toys. But there was one where it was like electricity. Like you could have something that was like electricity and like shock you, or like nipple clamps and like things you just might not have ever thought of or you wouldn't Google, but you're like in person and you're feeling it and experiencing it and having those classes, right? It's like kind of silly, but then you're bonding and you're being vulnerable and like learning all this new stuff. So I think I love that. I think we should I'm going to look to see if there's some of these sex workshops around Philly or PA to see if we can post it with this, because I think it is a great experience. Like it's a great way to learn, great way to bond, whether it's with a partner or friends, or if you're going alone to meet other people doing it and just exploring. So like you want something to do on a Friday night, go to a sex shop and go through it and find some cool stuff to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Especially with what we were all talking about earlier. And I, for myself saying like, there's the fear around it and, you know, curiosity, but never feeling comfortable to like speak up about it. But like, I'm very comfortable walking into a class. Like that makes me feel, you know, I'm not walking in there the only one who doesn't know maybe certain things or maybe wants to learn more about certain things, you know? So I love that idea because it definitely adds that comfort level.
If I find some, will you go with me?
Absolutely. I can't say
I'm
no.
coming.
I would say Maureen, but that means you're coming too.
I was like, I'm coming too. I miss that stuff so much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if anyone needs us, we'll all be in class the next 2 weekends.
And they have them all over, right? It's not just Philly. I think there's stuff on even Eventbrite, because like since I moved to Florida, I was like, I gotta find different activities and stuff to do and meet people. So I went on Eventbrite, and there was all these different ones, and the one was like teaching you how to ride, like how to ride on top like a cowgirl, and it said things to bring: knee pads and a pillow, and I thought that was great. So it's like even in any city you're in, if you just like Google some of these events, I'm sure that they'll be listed on there. You can be brave and go and have a good time.
I love that. Maybe we should like make knee pads the new like style trend. So you don't have to be like, hold on, wait 1 second, please.
Let me get my knee pads
put
out.
My knee pads on. I need to practice this. But for real, I mean, it's a thought. And I joke, but you know, you never know. Somebody might need them. So no judgment if you see someone walking around with them.
We could like bedazzle them or decorate them or something. It might lose traction with the beads, but I love some, you know, glitter, crystals, gemstones.
Oh, that's so funny. And I remember when I was going through my sex therapy program, there was a portion, I think it was called the STAR. Part of like the certification is like sometimes they have some of these workshops and where they like just show different kinds of porn and you're watching it in a class with your classmates. So I think even that was a cool experience of watching this near strangers or other people at like 10 a.m. and learning all this different stuff and like wanting to come home and like tell all my friends like, yo, listen to what I watched today. Did you ever think about doing that? And they're like, okay, this is like, we gotta stop. This is enough.
That's awesome. You know, when I went to the sex museum or Museum of Sex in New York, the exhibit at that time was like porn throughout the ages. And it was just so interesting to see like the earliest clips, you know, black and white. I mean, extremely taboo at that time. And it was just interesting to even see like the decor and like what they were wearing. And it was pretty neat. They also had Jello shots that were like nipples or like boobs. Nice. It was so cool. They had like a pop-up bar and stuff, plus the store. So that was a neat experience.
These are definitely great resources that you're both sharing, and I wish that I could not stop thinking like, oh, my next date. But I really do. Like, I don't want to wait till I have a partner. I kind of want to be like, hey, look, we're taking a trip to New York, and this is what's happening because I'm intrigued. You know what I mean? And I don't know if I'll do that, but that like events and classes, and I didn't even know there was a museum, so that's amazing. I think these are such great resources.
I would love
There's plenty out there.
Yeah, I would love that to be your next date. Personally, I would love that for you. And if that person was like down with it and excited about it, I would love that person for you.
Okay, I will. I'm going to throw it out there one day, and we'll see. I'll wait till like the third date, maybe. Like we'll throw that. See if they'll bite.
Yeah, I always recommend dates to like a local toy shop or something like that. Regardless of if the couple is like newer or just hooking up or married for 30 years. It's fun to see, to watch your partner kind of like what they gravitate towards or what they're picking up or, like, look at this, like, what about this? I think that's a great date.
I love that. And you're actually reminding me that there is a place in Philly, and I can't remember if it is South Street, but I'll have to find out and get it in the show notes too. But they create like BDM clothes and material and different types of like, I don't know if they would be called toys, but different types of materials like that is available in Philly too. There's a shop and it's like, so I remember going in, there was a lot of leather and I thought that was cool. And I'm not, no stereotype, but really there was a lot, but it was like a whole artistry to it and it was amazing. But also you can get these like custom made because I imagine that's a situation too, like how how someone buys pants, right? It's important that it's customized to you or it's ruining the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good investment if you're looking for some like, which can be a bit costly, but yeah, some things, that are not custom made or made with like good quality, whether it be toys or like harnesses and outfits and things like that, you'll find will break, don't fit your body right because it isn't custom made for you or is uncomfortable and irritating, which, all that stuff can take from the experience too. So that sounds like an awesome place. I guess I gotta go to Philly soon and hit up a couple places.
Yeah. But I think anywhere, I'm sure there's places anywhere you go if you just look. Like when my husband and I go traveling, when we go to like a different country or a different place and they have like a big city, and if I see a sex shop, I'm like, oh, let's go in to see what kind of stuff they have here. And like, I think the best one so far was in Barcelona. They had these statues and they had all these different kinds of like costumes and toys and like jewels to put on everything. And I thought a fun one was like a butt plug with like a squirrel tail coming out of it. Daniel.
That's adorable.
So they had a lot of so I think every place around the world, if it's like a bigger city or even smaller, they have like some sort of shop or some kind of place where they have some of this stuff because people have sex everywhere.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see if they're like kind of what is like, I don't want to say trending, but like, or like maybe what's common, because I imagine the inventory would probably look different, or maybe that's my assumption, based on like, what is selling. That'd be cool. Maybe that's a bucket list, go to all the different like continents and certain countries or big cities and see you could do a whole like dissertation on that.
Oh yeah.
Hey, maybe that's something that gets up on the Heal Your Roots Wellness site one day. A little tour, a little shop tour of where to go find these things, resources for this. So I'm just throwing it out there. And then if any of these products, right? And if any of these places or products then want to, sponsor the podcast. We're not sponsored by any of them right now, but hey, why not? If it's helping the experience. But
listen, I'll do a Netflix special traveling around the world going to different sex shops. If somebody wants to pay me, I would be more than happy.
Yeah, I'll be a sidekick.
Thing.
That's so genius. Okay, these are great ideas. I really hope that we can like put them into play.
Yeah.
There's a show on Netflix called Somebody Feed Phil. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's like everybody loves Raymond is like the producer of that, and he just goes around different countries and cities and just eating and talking about his experience. And so we could totally make that. I don't know what we would call it, but sex shops and experiences around the world.
I don't know why I'm picturing myself in like a sidecar with like a helmet on and like a scarf. Probably we have like all kinds of toys like in the trunk that are just like bouncing around. This is what
and our dogs are with us.
I see this, and then I see the little like squirrel tail at the end of like your motor vehicle. Like that's just we're painting a whole picture here for everyone.
Oh my god. That's hilarious.
Yeah, that just kind of seems like life goals. I don't know. It's like we'll have to start a vision board for this.
Yeah, I like this. This is a good idea. And then obviously we can eat in between all of this. So we can add in the food part of it.
Of course.
Thank you so much for being on with us again today. I think this is going to be a great episode and a lot of laughs, a lot of great insight information. And I hope people feel like this was listening to a conversation with a couple of friends just talking about sex and their experiences. So thank you so much for being on, Maureen.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'll talk sex anytime.